Dear brothers in Islam, today's topic is about Ihsan. Ihsan is a very broad word in Arabic, and it means doing goodness and doing the best you can in doing goodness. It means perfection. It means excellence. And more. The person who do Ihsan is called Muhsin. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about Ihsan and the people who do Ihsan and Muhsinin and Muhsin, talked about them in a lot of verses in Quran, a lot of verses. I'm just gonna mention a couple. Allah says in the Quran, وَسَنَزِيدُ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and give more to those who do Ihsan, those who do the best they can to others. So Allah will reward them extra. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Truly Allah loves al-muhsinin, the people who do ihsan, who do good. Allah loves them. And always when you hear something, you have to relate the person who's doing and the person who's receiving. So when Allah is the one who's doing, who's loving somebody, you have to understand the love from the standpoint of Allah. It's unlimited. It's unlimited, the love of Allah. So person who do excellence, who is a muhsin, Allah gives him unlimited rewards. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, Allah has commanded ihsan, doing good to the best you can, to the best of your ability. Allah commanded ihsan on everything. He didn't command ihsan on worship. He didn't command ihsan on reading Quran or anything, on everything. So in another hadith, that Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam came down to the Prophet at one night, and he sat with him, and the companions saw him. All the companions saw him. He was dressed extremely white and had very dark hair, and the companions were surprised. That person is not from around here, and his clothes are very clean and all of that, no dust, no signs of travel. And he sat and asked him so many questions, and it's to teach the companion about Islam. And one of the questions he asked him, he said, "What is ihsan?" And the Prophet replied, he said, "It is as you worship Allah as if you see Him. And even though you do not see Him, you know He sees you." People get confused when they hear the word worship. They think it's salah. Worship is not salah. Worship is everything you do in your life, as long as it's following Allah rules and commands. When you work, it's worship. When you treat other people, it's worship, as long as you're doing it based on Allah's orders and command. Then you're worshiping Allah. So ihsan is worshiping Allah to the best you can, even though assuming that He's watching you. Just imagine if you're at work and your boss is over your shoulder looking at what you're doing. You're going to do your best. You don't want to do mistakes, nothing. So how about if Allah is watching you in whatever you do, in your work, at home, with your spouse, with your children? And the first thing when you want to do ihsan, it starts with the intention. You have to do ihsan for the sake of Allah. Not so that people look around and say, "Look, he's great. Look at the way he's doing things. He's the best. There is nobody like him. He's all the comments." You're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah ordered you to do ihsan in everything you do. So it starts with intention, that when you do ihsan, you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the hadiths, the Prophet says, if you pray, pray well. And if you fast, fast well. So that's ihsan. He's talking about the worship side. But what is ihsan? Really, ihsan is asking you to get out of your comfort zone. Every one of us is comfortable in doing things in one way. And normally it's average. When you're at work, it's average. You know, this is a comfortable thing. I'm not going to kill myself. Come on. Let's 8 to 5, finish the day, get the job done, we get the paycheck, it's over. Same thing, when we do salah, some people do the salah, they don't even remember how many rak'ahs they did. And they finish. Fasting, we just wait till the end of day and then we eat. But ihsan is asking you to get out of your comfort zone. Challenge yourself to be better in whatever you're doing, in your work, in your salah, everything you're doing, to be better. And that's what Allah is expecting from a Muslim, not anybody else. The Muslim, he's expected to do the best they can in whatever they are doing. Just as an example, Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah commanded him to build the Kaaba. He commanded him to build the Kaaba. He said, go to that place and build the Kaaba. Sayyidina Ibrahim took his son Ismail alayhi salam, and they went and started to build the Kaaba. They built it. He did everything he can. He put the rocks as high as he can and all of that. But he is looking for ihsan. He was not happy. So what did he do? He went around and found a big rock and took that rock and put it and stepped on it. And his son was giving him rocks, so he make it 10, 20 inches, a little bit higher. Just for ihsan. So he can do something better for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he stopped what he's doing, he either fulfilled the command of Allah. Allah asked him to build it, he built it as high as he can. But no, he's looking for ihsan, looking to do better. And if you go to Kaaba today, you're going to see there is a little cage, gold cage next to the Kaaba. It has the little rock that he was using, that he was carrying around to extend the Kaaba 10, 20 inches. It's still there. And Allah is telling us, ihsan is everything. So He's giving us another example. Allah says in the Quran, وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُم بِتَحَيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنِ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. And when you are greeted with a greeting, greet with a better than it, or return it. So if somebody greets you, the first choice, Allah is saying, greet back with a better than it. That's the first choice. But the fallback position, if you're not one of the people who like to do ihsan, then just return it. So if you look at the Prophet ﷺ, one day he was sitting in the masjid, and one of the companions walked in, and he said, Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet answered and said, Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ihsan, he did one step more. Another person walked in and he said, Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah. And the Prophet ﷺ returned, Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. You can do the same. You can today, before you leave, you can do ihsan. Shake the hand of your person next to you, shake his hand and smile. That's ihsan. You're not only just saying Assalamu alaikum, but you're doing ihsan by smiling. So you can do ihsan in everything you do. Even when you give charity, there is ihsan when you give charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن تُبْدُوا الصَّدَقَاتِ فَنِعْمًا هِيَ وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُؤْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءَ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you give charities openly in front of everybody, it is well. And if you hide it and give it to the poor, it is better for you. That is ihsan. Because when you're doing it in hiding, you're doing so many things when you're hiding it. Number one, you're protecting the dignity of the poor. That's ihsan. Number two, you're making sure that there is no hypocrisy in your charity. That maybe somebody watch you and say, oh, great job, you're so generous. No, you don't want anybody to know about it except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's ihsan. That is excellence. The daughter of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Sayyidah Fatima radiallahu anha. One day the Prophet walked in to her house and he saw her having 3 dirhams. A dirham doesn't buy much. It's very little. So she had 3 dirhams and she was polishing them, working hard to polish them. So the Prophet looked at her and was kind of surprised. He said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Those 3 dirhams I'm going to give away as charity." So he said, "So why are you polishing them?" He said, "Because I know when I give charity, it goes to the hands of Allah first before it goes to the poor. So I wanted to make my charity presentable to Allah." That is ihsan. That is ihsan. You think of Allah. She's not thinking of the poor. She's thinking of Allah first. So she's polishing it to be presentable. And then there is a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah loves that when any one of you does a job, he should perfect it. If you look at it, he didn't say when he do worship, he said a job. Anything you do, you should perfect it. Anything, work, friendship, eating, cooking, whatever it is, you have to perfect it. That's expected from Allah, is expecting that from you. And Allah said in the Quran, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not impose on any soul a burden greater than it can bear. So Allah is not telling you to be the best. He's asking you for personal excellence. He wants you to do the best you can. Nobody is going to be the best. But He wants you to do the best you can in your job, in everything, in treating other people. Do the best you can. That's ihsan. That's expected from every Muslim. Even at the time of difficulties, times of hardship or whatever, Allah is expecting ihsan. In Allah in the Quran says, الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. A divorce is only permissible twice. After that, a woman must be retained in honor, in respect, or released in ihsan. Released with the best of kindness. You're separating. It's bad time. It's not the time of friendship or whatever, separating. But ihsan has to be there. Even when you're separating, you have to be muhsin. You have to have ihsan, have kindness. Remember Allah that He's watching you. Even when you're arguing with non-Muslim, Allah says, وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. And argue with them in the best way. When somebody is arguing, you're telling you, I don't believe in Islam, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that. No, don't get angry, don't curse him, don't use foul language. Use ihsan. That's what Allah is expecting. That you're going to use ihsan when you're dealing with them. And ihsan is not an option. Some people may think, well, I may do it, I may not do it. No, ihsan is not an option. It's obligatory. It's required from every Muslim. Ihsan is required from every Muslim. Because Allah in the Quran says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah commands justice and ihsan and giving help to kith and kin, which means relatives. So the second thing that Allah is ordering, and He didn't say, I'm ordering Muslim. No, it's an order for all humanity that you're supposed to do ihsan. It's an order. So it's not an option. You say, well, I'm not going to do it. It's not required. It's like a sunnah. You know, maybe I don't have to do it. Allah's not going to punish me. No, you're going to be asked for that because He's ordering us. He's saying, I command you to do ihsan. So this is a divine law. It's a law from Allah and it applies to everybody, Muslim, non-Muslim. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, if you look back, Muslims forgot ihsan. Muslims forgot ihsan. When Muslims were remembering ihsan and they followed the true Islam and the true orders of Allah, we were the leader of the world. Muslims were the best place to be. If you want technology, go to Muslim country. If you want, literature, go to Muslim country. Medicine, go to Muslim country. Chemistry, go to Muslim country. Architecture, go to Muslim countries. All the advancement were coming from Muslim when they remembered Ihsan, because they were perfecting everything they do. Look at some of the mosques that they built. Look at the advancement they did in calculus, in medicine, in everything. They were doing ihsan and doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not so somebody can point to them or give them Nobel Prize or whatever. They're doing it for the sake of Allah. And when the Muslim forgot ihsan, unfortunately, the West learned about ihsan. And look at today. The West, because they do ihsan, they are much more advanced. And because it is a divine law, as long as the West will follow ihsan, they will be better. And the only way for Muslim to get back to the glorious day is to go back to ihsan. Then they are going to be able to lead. And even if you look at it, it's very unfortunate if today somebody tells you, what's the best car I can buy? You're going to tell them, hey, buy Japanese or buy German. They are the best. What about electronics? Electronics, Japanese electronics. You can't go wrong with Japanese electronics. What about weapon and arms? American, they have the most sophisticated weapons in the world and all of that. But there is no product that you can say a Muslim country is doing that people can say, this is the product, I should buy it from a Muslim country. None. And you cannot say oil. Oil is not made by human. It's Allah put it in the ground. So oil has nothing to do with us. So Muslims fell behind because they forgot ihsan. And until they remember that, it's not going to get better. And just if you look at today, just an example of a person that followed ihsan and how they achieved greatness. Steve Jobs and Apple. If you read about anything that Steve Jobs was well known for, is excellence. Whatever he does, he's looking for excellence. He's not following everybody else, he's following excellence. And because that's the rule of Allah, he succeeded. Today, Apple is the most valuable company in the whole world. Not in the United States, in the whole world. And look at, when you do ihsan, everything comes with it because you're following Allah. Wealth, he's one of the richest people in the world. Fame, everything. As long as you do ihsan, you'll get all of that. But do it for the sake of Allah. And if you look at it, we can do ihsan, but it's a continuous process. It's not something that you do and say, I'm going to do it today. No, you have to fight yourself because your soul is going to push you to do average. But you have to push yourself, train yourself on doing ihsan in everything. Teach your children from the young age. So when they grow up, ihsan is a part of their character, is a part of their behavior. So we have to do that. We have to do ihsan in everything we can. And aim high. Don't say, ihsan, I'm just going to do 10% better. Say, I'm going to double. Because worst case, if you don't achieve your goal, and you achieve 80%, you are much better than everybody else around you. So aim high and try to do ihsan to the best that you can. And whatever you do it for the sake of Allah. And everything else you will get. You will get the wealth, you will get the fame, you will get everything. In addition, you will get the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين استغفروه إنه غفور رحيم.